Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Happening Dracut. Today is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. We are welcoming you to an exciting show. We just got back from a little bit of a hiatus in August where we took a couple of weeks off to kind of get refreshed, get a little tan. I went on vacation and laid on the beach with my wife and next to the pool. So we're here tonight and we're raring to go. Thanks for joining us. We are your number one information show that's going to bring you all the news and all the things you won't see in those other rags from Westford or wherever they are, or anybody else. We'll talk strictly about stuff that you will not see anywhere else. We are broadcasting live from our overly ostentatious studio here at Dracut Access Television on 91 Mill Street in Dracut, Massachusetts. You can also join us by live streaming through our internet connection at dracuttv.org. And Phil, I've got that down finally. You finally got that down. And you can catch us by watching us on Facebook. We're live on Facebook as we speak, I believe. Yes. Are we on there?
Yes, we are.
We are on live. Great. So, and you could call in, please, if you have a comment, we say something to pee you off or whatever you're going to do, just call us at 957-4243, but it's 978. I was doing good there.
There it is.
There it is. 978-957-4243 to call in live and get into the conversation. My guests tonight, our hosts tonight, are the very amiable Phil Thibault. Hi, Phil.
Hi, how are you?
Come on, Phil. Get some energy up here.
Oh,
Let's
okay,
go,
okay.
guys.
Well, you may have had a vacation, but the shirt is the extent of my vacation.
We also have our Cub reporter who's doing an enormous amount of work for us on the ground every day. He's out doing something for us, and that is our very amiable guy, Richard Silvio.
Oh, you forgot that? Wow, John, wow.
I didn't know that. Richard's a 17-year-old high school senior to be, and he has a lot of things on his mind.
Oh, I sure do.
Some subjects are coming up later on tonight. And we are welcoming back our co-host extraordinaire, the guy who everybody loves, the guy that the other program doesn't kick the crap out of, just kicks the crap out of Phil and I, and Gordy Scott. You have Teflon on, Gordy.
Well, I try to be a good person. That's why.
Oh, God. And we're not good yet.
I have to razz you back after the razzing I took when I missed.
All right. Now, how's your kidney situation?
So I want to thank all the viewers that reached out to me and wished me well. I was in the hospital for a few hours. I went to the emergency room at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had a kidney infection. It was pretty bad. But I got some good drugs, got some good antibiotics, and I'm feeling great, back to normal. And we're ready to talk a lot about politics. We got some great guests coming on tonight. And if you want to join the conversation, as John said, call the number on the screen, 978-957-4243, and join us. If you want to ask any of the people here a question, or you want to just join the conversation. And it's good to be back. I missed 2 shows, so it's good to be back.
We also have on set with us, he's a little early, but he's here on set. He's our first guest after our Dracut section, Cam K from Lowell, candidate for
this Lowell City Council for District 7.
District 7, and we're going to get into his whole background and what he brings to the table for our viewers here that have relatives and friends in Lowell, and maybe we have a couple of people in Lowell watching, Cam. I suspect we do. That will be going through the live streaming and our Facebook page. But I also wanted to let you know that you could also reach us if you want to drop a dime and tell us something. Tell us something interesting about what's going on behind the scenes or what is happening in Dracut that we may not know about, that we should know about. You can reach us at what'shappeningdracut@gmail.com. You can send us that information, or you can call me at my home. You have my numbers on 978-815-9173. I'm always available for Dracuteers. So we're going to we're going to jump into a couple of things. Phil, why don't you give us a little bit of the best wishes for this evening for some people that we wanted to shout out to.
Best wishes.
Frank and Rachel
Frank,
Antifonario.
they had moved to
They are
South
moving.
Carolina.
They are
South
moving. They are
Carolina.
moving, but
I did hear
they are
that.
faithful watchers.
Oh,
by
and
the
they're
way.
fantastic people.
Fantastic people, and they are moving. I just sprung that on him.
I guess I'm glad for them that they're continuing a new adventure, going to South Carolina, but certainly saddened for Dracut for losing two great people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
And happy birthday, Moose!
guys,
I didn't.
Gordy,
birthday.
we got to sing. Moose Morosky is 82 this
Yep,
week.
congratulations.
Let's sing it out. Happy birthday to you.
Moose, moose,
Happy birthday to you.
moose, moose,
Happy birthday, dear Moose. Happy birthday to you. There you go, Moose.
I did stop by Don's house the other day, and he's doing well.
He's
He's
a-
been fighting some health issues of his own. So we wish you the best, Don. We hope you're doing great, and I'm sure you're watching tonight, and I'll stop by the house later this week.
He told me today, unequivocally, that he has no plans on going anywhere soon. He's going to be around
100. He's
100.
100.
He's going
Excellent,
to be 100. And I said that we will celebrate with you, Moose.
But when we talk about Don, Frank gets upset. So we,
Well, Frank, speaking of Frank, I did not know this, Richard. You know, the other day when we had the War Memorial
Yes.
rededication, World War I, which was fantastic. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. So as you know, on Saturday at 11 a.m., we all got out there. We celebrated the restoration of our World War I monument at Hovey Square. Oh, we had a great turnout. The Legion came. They shot off their guns. We had the color guard. It was really a very touching moment.
Right. And we had several people that had relatives that are on that plaque that we
Yes.
didn't even know. One was Briscoe, who spoke.
Yes, Michael Briscoe.
Michael Briscoe, and then we had Sylvia Richardson, right?
Yes.
The former pastor, Phil.
Yep.
And she's related to Joanna Harris.
That's correct.
That's her mother. Her grandfather was not on that plaque, but fought in the war, right, Phil?
Correct. Virgil, I believe, is
Virgil,
his first
right.
name.
And he was.
He served out of Maine,
yeah.
where he was a Freemason also in a lodge up in Maine. She showed us some documents of like a discharge paper for the war against Germany and her allies, as it noted on the discharge paper. So
Yeah.
it was interesting.
But the reasoning for me to bring this all full circle, folks, that you know we do other things other than this show, believe it or not. But like the War Memorial for World War I, which, by the way, Rich did a fantastic job. Let's give him a round of
Oh,
applause.
fiddlesticks.
Well,
Oh, please.
The kid did a great job with organizing it. He took the lead, raised money, had the garden club come in, which they did a great job too. And we're going to have some film on that later at another day.
Yes.
Because we just so jam-packed today we couldn't do it. But to get back to Frank McMahon, his grandfather, I believe it was, his dad, is on that plaque.
Really?
I believe so. It was quite a thing, and I'm sorry that we didn't know it the day that relation was there, and we would have had you come up also and be involved, Frank. So hope you're well, and we'll see you real soon.
John, I'd just like to tell you that Rachel says thank you.
Rachel
Antifonario, she's watching us. And
she's the best.
says
Her and
thank
Frank,
you.
we are going to miss the likes of those two people who have been great community assets for, as you said, for a long, long time. So Godspeed, Frank and Rachel. We wish you nothing but the best health, long life. Enjoy South Carolina and enjoy your grandchildren for all it's worth, right? So, Phil, let's get right into what we got going on here. You have anything else on there? Anybody else commenting?
Angel is watching, a faithful watcher. Glad that Rachel can join us. And Gail.
Yeah, we've got about 26, 27 people just on Facebook. Now, you can extrapolate that on our live streaming and on our Channel 8, I'm sure, is much, much more. So, all right, so I want to get into the meat of what we're going to talk about here at Dracut. So we have a couple of retirement announcements. You've heard about the police chief?
Yes. Yeah. Well, the one I know specifically about was Betsy Ware, our community development director. She there was an advertisement for the position that she holds, so it's like, oh, what happened? So I hear that she is retiring. She lives up in Maine, and it's about an hour's commute to come to work every day. So she bought a farm She didn't buy the farm. She bought a farm. up
Somebody's
there.
she bought the farm?
She bought a farm, and I know she's been doing quite a bit to kind of rehab it, to bring up some fruit productions and stuff like that. So best of luck to Betsy Ware.
Sure. And we also have had the announcement, it's not officially announced, but I found out about it through the grapevine and all of our little birdies that send us little information. Cam, I've got a lot of people that love to send me little messages about what's going on. Can you get this on the show? You know, because nobody's announced it yet. But
I'm glad you're the father of the Canary Island.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. But Dracut Police Deputy Chief Stephen Chappett has been telling his family and friends that he is going to retire officially within the next 30 days or so, I believe it is. And he's had a very good career here, but I'm not quite sure why he's leaving so young. And I'm going to reach out to him. I'm trying to find out more information as to why he has decided to leave, and kind of abruptly, you know. You've met.
He's a good guy too.
He is a good guy. He is a good guy. And his grandfather was very good to me. His grandfather was Douglas Willett, Dracut's 24-hour selectman, who served the Board of Selectmen here in Dracut for what, almost 30 years?
30, yeah.
30 something
I
like
believe
that?
it's 30 plus, yeah.
Yeah. So he was probably one of the most long-standing people.
The selectmen chambers are dedicated to him.
There you go. So that in itself is a tremendous honor, obviously. So those are two breaking news items that we have. We also have news that's coming soon on another open meeting violation by the Board of Selectmen. It's involving a subcommittee, and I'll have more on that at our next show. I haven't fully comprehended everything, all the material that I got from the town at the request of a FOIA request, and I'm going to expose it again that another subcommittee didn't post meetings, and we're having meetings without posting it. You know, folks, there's no real penalty, right, Phil? There's no real penalty.
No, not yet. But
so what is the penalty if they get
well,
caught?
Boss Tweed at Tammany Hall used to say, "Well, what are you going to do about it?"
Right, and the boss tweed
go.
of Dracut is who?
Joe DeRocco.
Joe DeRocco. And Gordy, if this stuff keeps going on, where do you go? Where do you go to, including the school department, if they don't post meetings correctly, and they don't?
I think it's the Attorney General.
Yeah, but what's the penalty?
I don't know. If there's a fine for the
There
town?
isn't, but I'll tell you this: if a member of the legislature is watching, it might be a good idea to beef up those laws so that if there is such a thing as somebody doing this consistently, they should get a financial penalty, $1,000 every time they do it. You'll see how fast they decide that they're not going to do it anymore.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Right. So we have breaking news, Phil, guys. We have breaking news. I learned moments before we came on the air that just before, from a very reliable source, that town manager Ann Vandal will interview the 3 candidates that went through the assessment process for the new fire chief. And this has been sitting on the back burner for a little while because the assessment has been done. And in fact, Chief Briette was supposed to be scheduled to retire on the 15th of July. You know that,
Absolutely,
right?
That's correct, right?
So they held him over because they weren't ready to make the final decision. For some reason, Ann Vandal's been dragging her feet. I kind of think I know why they've been dragging their feet, but we'll see what happens. But it seems a bit odd that the manager will do her interviews of the 3 candidates on Tuesday afternoon at noontime. Why Tuesday afternoon?
Because the selectmen's meeting is that night, isn't it?
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, and they will be announcing the appointment of the new fire chief.
Fancy that.
That evening. Now, she must have her mind made up. Is she going to be able to make her mind up in 7 hours?
From the 3 people that I heard that were on the list,
Yeah.
I think one was not did not support our friend Phil Thibault during the
Oh,
election.
no, but that has nothing to do with it. I mean, I don't think any of them supported you, Phil, did they?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, you'll never get them to admit it.
No, I know that.
Because Boss Hogg is definitely sitting back there saying...
I know the rank and file. I'm very grateful for them. They supported
Absolutely,
me.
the rank and file did the right
They're a
thing.
great bunch of guys.
They did the right thing. They worked
Absolutely.
hard for you. They did. But the 3 candidates that went through the assessment program is Captain Alex Vulgaris. He scored a 92.
Oh.
That's a great score for
Impressive.
him. And he's a young guy, and he's a great guy, and I think he'd make a great chief. But unfortunately, Alex, I don't think you got the right pull to get the job. I'm sorry. You know, in Dracut, it's just the way it is. I'm praying that the right thing will be done, but I don't think you got the right pull. And Tom Mackey, who's now currently a deputy chief, he scored an 89, which is still a good score,
Very good,
right?
yeah.
Very good score. But I understand that he really, I'm not trying to throw any accusations out, but I think they needed 3 candidates in order to go forward with the process without opening it up to the next level in the fire department. So he put his name in and he went through the process. He got an 89, but I don't think he really wants the position. And quite frankly, if you're at the end of your career, I don't know why you'd want that position. It's pretty tough to satisfy everybody in that position. But the 3rd candidate is Deputy Chief Rich Patterson. You know Rich, right?
I do. I've worked with them a number of times on different projects within town. In my role as an architect and working with the fire department and building department.
And how has he always been with
He's
you?
been very respectful with me. I've always enjoyed working with him.
One of his main positions is inspecting
Yeah,
occupancies.
fire prevention officer.
Okay, but he scored a 70. But my prediction, do you have a prediction of who's going to win the position?
I guess my thought is that Rich Patterson is probably the hands-down favorite on that.
Gordy,
one.
do you
I
have
agree.
a prediction?
Rich Patterson.
And do you have a prediction? Rich?
Come on, really?
Go-
It's black and white.
Do you know who Rich Patterson is?
I do not.
Have you
but,
ever met him?
I have not.
Would
I have
you-
not had the pleasure.
Would you know him if you fell over him?
I probably wouldn't.
You
but
wouldn't?
I'd like to meet him.
Come on, Jack. Give me some fun here. Jack Betty, Jack Betty extraordinaire.
What about
Rich
my
Patterson's
opinion?
a great guy. What's your opinion?
I would agree.
You would
Deputy
agree?
Chief Patterson probably would get
Do you know
the job.
Rich? Do you know Deputy Patterson?
Never met him. Through the process, I had to select the school president for my college.
Yeah.
The top 2 vote getter did not. But the gentleman who's currently there placed like number 5.
Unfortunately, since Mr. Dracut has been on the Board of Selectmen here in Dracut, and he will now be blasting us because we're telling the truth. He doesn't like the truth. He has been the one guy who has
You can't handle the truth.
do that again for the camera. Go, look right in that camera and do that.
You can't handle the truth.
We have a little bit of fun on this show, right? The bottom line is that Mr. Dracut has made these types of appointments very political. Started with the manager's position, and he's been doing it for years. And quite frankly, it's an abomination that he does that. And the people that and I'm not saying that Rich Patterson doesn't deserve the position or he's not qualified for the position. I just think that, if we're going to do things right, please do it right and stop the BS about it. So anyways, that is about what we had on.
Oh, we have a new football coach.
And we
Football
do.
coach.
So tell us a little bit about the new football.
So his name is, I think it's Jeremiah McKenzie.
You're right.
And he went to high school. I did a little background on him. So
Good.
he went to high school at Cambridge Ridge in Latin. He was a football player there. And he just came off of a single year at Shirley Air as the football head coach for 1 year. And he came highly recommended. They went through an extensive search at Shirley for a new coach. I think there was 14 applicants, and he was the one chosen. And so Paula Chaucy hired him. He was available. He didn't have a good year. I think they were 0-8 or something like that last year. And Dracut was in the same boat. Didn't win a game, but hopefully he can come in and get the Middies back to winning.
Yeah. I know that there's been some people that are upset about what happened with the former coach, who was only here for 4 games, Phil. 4 games under COVID, and that they posted the position, and all of a sudden, applications came in, and even during the process, and I happen to know this because I know somebody that is intimately involved with the process, that during the process, more applicants came in, and they ended up picking the person that was the more applicants came in. You know what I mean? But it was kind of, I think it was in the bag to get rid of, not to hire the present coach, the new coach, because I don't want to disparage him. I don't know him. I hear a lot of good things about him. He's going to be a super addition to the squad, and I hope he does well.
And he's the first African American coach, I believe, as well.
For Dracut High
in the
School.
Merrimack Valley.
I think in the Merrimack Valley Conference, I think, because
Correct.
I had that same conversation with the
Right.
gentleman who told me that, which is obviously a very good thing also.
Right.
So, if there's any comments that anybody wants to make about that, you can call in at 978-957-4243. And can they like us on Facebook?
They sure can.
And can they follow us on Facebook?
I believe they can.
Okay, you had a comment?
I had a comment about the football.
Okay.
So all I wanted to say is that the only thing I know about football in Dracut is we now have what I call the untouchable, or as I like to call it, the turf field in Dracut. Costs millions of dollars, we put it in, can't use it.
Phil, why is
That's-
that? Why is that we can't use it?
Well, there's a lot of maintenance involved, and I know that's one reason why they canceled the fireworks display.
I was just going to say that. That's right.
So I mean, every year everybody looks forward to the fireworks, and there's no place in Dracut to have them.
But I would invite anyone with information about that field to reach out to me, because I'm working on a background story. I haven't even told you about this, about that field. And what happened was, as you know, Gordy, we spent millions of dollars of community preservation money
Yes, we did.
on that field. And where does community preservation money come from, Gordy?
The taxpayers.
The taxpayers.
Yes, it
And
does.
what is one of the stipulations of the use of that money?
I don't think it's for.
No,
It's for
it-
recreation.
You can use it for recreation, but it's supposed to be open to
The public.
Do we have a call, Nate?
Yeah, Don.
Oh, we got Don Morosky, the
Morosky.
birthday man. All right, let's get him right on the air. Happy birthday, Don Morosky. Are you there, Don?
Yeah, but you're very staticky.
Okay, yeah, we got gremlins down here.
Gremlins.
How you doing, Don?
I'm doing fine, but I want to thank you for wishing me a happy 82nd birthday. I got 18 more you go to.
I hope you have.
Good for you.
I hope you have 118 more.
Well, Don, I hope you like the singing, because as soon as John was singing, I think 18 people shut the TV off.
Oh, that don't surprise me. The other thing is, I'd like to welcome Gordy back. I missed him for a month now, and I see his wife Jen and him walking all the time. And I found out who the boss is, because you're going to keep walking, bud. But I had the opportunity to sit down at a dinner with Paula Chauncey and new head football coach. And I'll tell you what, they can say how many candidates and all what, but I'm going to tell you something. He fits the bill real well. The numerous questions I asked him, he I said to him, well, what do you think of former football players? So, well, I'm thinking of everybody in Dracut, and I'm trying to make these boys, gentlemen, not only football players, to go on to graduate and also take the next step and take the next step. Okay, meaning, marriage, college marriage, or whatever way you want to put it. Then I asked him what kind of a program you're going to run. He told me, and it was a very good answer, he says, I got to adjust to the talent I have. So he says, we're going to adjust to the talent. They're going to be a well-coached team. Okay, I got my own staff to come in, because the old staff was wiped completely out. And for the first time since Dracut beat the Brocktons, the Everetts, the St. John Prep, and this, we're back. We're going to be back. But you got to realize, okay, that he's starting at the bottom, and the talent, we got to adjust to the talent, and you're going to see that, and you're going to see an improvement as he goes on. And basically, went over a bunch of things with him. He wants to, in fact, I'll get him to come on your program, and I have an alumni group. It's 20, 25 guys going back into the 50s, actually into the 40s, and he's going to come before us there, and so is Paula. For the first time, and the first 5 coaches, I believe, the Paula, of course, the principal of the school's got to get involved on the MIA, and the superintendent, and I get what I'm hearing is Andrew Graham was involved in it. I think for the first time, I think the committee has done a good job. And if you asked me that a year ago, I would have said no. And I think you're going to see a vast improvement. As I said to Paula, I said, you got to start improving the programs. Okay? And she said, look, I bleed blue. I said, well, you told me that a year ago, and I'm bleeding. But make a long story, when Dracut played Methuen and these teams, Chemsitz and St. John's Prep, the Brockton's, there were 7,500 people.
That's two arrows you just shot at me on St. John's Prep. What is this all about, Moose? Are you trying to get me today? Moose, you're the best, and we'd love to have him on the show. And when he comes on, we'd love to have you with him. How about that?
Okay. Okay. I'll work to get him there at your next show, which I'm sure. And he's a resident of Seabrook, New Hampshire, so it makes it pretty easy.
Great.
So I'll let you go. I know you get a heavy agenda.
We do.
But I needed a touch base on that.
Make sure you say hello to the missus and the family. Thanks again for joining us tonight.
I will.
Moose. Happy birthday, buddy. Okay.
Yep, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Take care now.
You too.
Oh, Richie, good job. Richie,
Thank
good
you.
job to you, Sassy.
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
Bye, Moose. All right, folks, we got to end this segment because our good friend Phil's got to run out and he's got a show.
I have a Northern Middlesex Council of Governments meeting I have to be at. So.
Right, so you were gracious enough to come in now,
Yeah, no,
and we're going to have Nate cue up the video that we have to go, and we're going to switch out some seats here, and we'll get started with our interview of Cam K. We'll be back in about a minute and a half.
My name is Laura Morris. I have been a teacher in Loudoun County Public Schools for 5 years and a teacher for 10. In that time, I have learned so much, being on the cutting edge of educational technology and working with a diverse population of students that I have loved. This year, I have the privilege to follow my amazing 4th graders up to 5th, and I have been excited about this all summer. On the other hand, this summer I have struggled with the idea of returning to school, knowing that I'll be working yet again with a school division that, despite its shiny tech and flashy salary, promotes political ideologies that do not square with who I am as a believer in Christ. After reading about your lack of consideration for the growing population of concerned citizens in this division, clearly evidenced by this empty room tonight, where you shut the doors to the public, as well as the emails sent by the superintendent last year, reminding me that a dissenting opinion is not allowed, even to be spoken in my personal life, going so far as to send a form to my colleagues and I, encouraging us to fill it out if we hear one another speaking against the controversial policies being promoted by this school board and adopted in this county. Not only that, but within the last year, I was told in one of my so-called equity trainings that white, Christian, able-bodied females currently have the power in our schools, and that, quote, "this has to change." Clearly, you've made your point. You no longer value me or many other teachers you've employed in this county. So since my contract outlines the power that you have over my employment in Loudoun County Public Schools, I thought it necessary to resign in front of you. School board, I quit. I quit your policies, I quit your trainings, and I quit being a cog in a machine that tells me to push highly politicized agendas on our most vulnerable constituents, the children. I will find employment elsewhere. I encourage all parents and staff in this county to flood the private schools.
Okay, we're back, folks. Thank you very much for watching. And that was a Loudoun County teacher who quit on the spot in front of their school committee because she objects to the abhorrent teachings of critical race theory, which we're going to get into at another time. But we wanted that to go out there as a filler so we could switch out some people. We're joined on the set by the very affable and very outspoken Mike Dillon. He's a school committee member in Lowell, and we brought him on tonight, and he's going to be talking in a little bit about the situation with masks and vaccinations. When we bring on our parent who's been so advocating for the against that here in Dracut. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we want to talk to Cam Kay. We invited Cam Kay, who's one of my friends from Lowell also, and we have dinner together some Mondays, right? And
a couple Mondays
ago,
yes.
We had dinner together. And I'm glad to say that he's running for city council. But let me give you a little bit of background on Cam. Cam has more than 25 years of knowledge and experience in information technology, cyber security, and computer forensics. Very smart man. He is currently a faculty member, and he teaches related information technology, networking, cyber security, computer forensics, and computer science. Is that right so far?
Correct.
And Cam is a community political activist. He's been involved. I believe he was the chairman of the Republican City Committee for a few years there in Lowell.
That is
Am I correct?
Yes.
And he's currently a member of the advisory board for the Salvation Army, and they do some great work there in Lowell. And he's also a member of the Teachers Association, the College Executive Board, Charter, union member. He's a member of the Diversity Leadership Committee. The list just keeps going on and on. He was born in Cambodia, and Cam and his family survived the Cambodian genocide from 1975 to 1978. So he has a lot of experience and things that he can talk about what might be going on over there in Afghanistan too. But he's currently, he lived in 4 refugee camps before he eventually entered the United States in 1982. He's a graduate of Lowell High School in Massachusetts in 1991, and he's been conferred a Bachelor's of Art degree from Norwich University and a Master's degree from DeVry University. And Gordy,
I'm a DeVry grad.
Are you
as well.
really?
Yes, I am.
See that? So there you go. You got 2 alumni.
We've got a lot in common. IT, DeVry.
In IT, yeah. So you need to get. But you had a couple other things you wanted to comment.
We had too. I saw that you were recently endorsed by the bricklayers and the allied craftsmen of the local 3. So that was a pretty nice endorsement that you just received as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate it for their trust upon my candidacy for the city council. I couldn't say I just lost the word once when I received the letter of endorsement. The only thing I can say is just I deeply humble for the trust that they have in me to handle the situations, including labor law practices and so forth, that I hope that I can be their strong advocates, not just for the bricklayer, but for all workers here and in the city, if need be, everywhere else.
So Cam, you have a lot of political experience in Lowell and been involved. Did you run for anything else before?
Yes, I did. I ran for the school committee when I first got back into Lowell way back in 2015. And then there, right after, I ran for the state representative for the 18th district in Lowell as well.
How many candidates were in that race?
There was a partisan one for the Republican side, which is me, and the Democrat. I don't remember if they had a primary or not, but it was just me running.
Who was in the Democrat side?
Ratty Mom.
Oh, Ratty Mom. Okay, right. I get it. Very good. So now you're running in what district?
I'm running for the 7th district, which consists of part of the lower Highlands, but primarily is the entire Acre district.
And your primary opponents in that race, do you have any opponents in that race?
Yes, I have other 3 individuals that will be running for that position. I don't know if I want to mention their name.
That's totally up to you. See, folks, see what I'm talking about with politics? He's one of those people that say, you never ever announce give your opponent any kind of hink, right? But
There are just 3 other people, let's just say that.
Yes, three other individuals. 2 of them is well known within the district and in the city itself. But 2 other candidates have had the opportunity to run for some various position within the city itself. I believe, I stand correct. I think the other 3 opponents do have opportunity to run for some other position.
Okay. So, Kim, what do you bring to the table that you want to bring to Lowell? What is one of your number one issue?
My number one issue is what I call it a smart taxation. This smart taxation is what falls right into the category that we're looking at the situation right now, being the fact that we all went through this pandemic together, and a lot of people have lost their job. A lot of people have struggled to make ends meet. The last thing we wanted to do is to take a look at the infrastructures and raise taxes in order to compensate what was lost in order to help other individuals survive. What this smart taxation we're looking at is to take a look at a holistic manner in order to prioritize the demand of other projects within the city itself. So what I wanted to do is to stabilize, not to raise taxes, not to reduce taxes, but to currently looking at a tax rate. And together as a council member, we can be able to smart enough to take a look and say, here are our priorities, especially the competing ones that we have, such as infrastructures, that we see that we probably may be hitting $150 million of sewage replacement in the city itself. And with the high school project in Lowell, that is already is going to cost the city itself, I think $180 million, is going to raise more taxes on homeowners. It's going to be raising more taxes based on the consumption. So any other taxes that the citizen of Lowell is going to be stuck for. So what I wanted to see is that we need to go back and take a look and evaluate at what point do we need to prioritize some of these services so that we're not stressing the entire taxation for the city itself.
So is it based on a split tax rate also?
What do you mean by split?
Split tax rate being commercial and privately owned properties.
I just don't believe that both of the commercials and private taxations from the citizen itself should be split at all. It's just we need to constantly maintain at this level. Probably we can go to maintain this tax rate maybe in the next 3 to 5 years before we consider and say, have we generate more of a tax collection or not, or we have less of a tax collections in this past year, and what our projection is going to be looking like. But that's only a projection. If the question is, are we going to get that money or not? That is going to be another different discussions until we start seeing the budget proposal from the city manager. Then I can be able to have more opportunity to be able to dissect that over 800 pages of the city budget to be able to say, I don't think this is where we need to be, or I may look at it and say, this is where we need to be in order to make that sound decisions rather than prophesizing how we're going to be spending that money in the future.
Do you think about with the split tax, many towns, in Dracut we don't have a split tax, we have one property tax for everybody, and do you think that the split tax, commercial versus private, is a regressive tax on businesses because it stymies business, or do you think it's a fair taxation for business?
I firmly believe it's a fair one. In order to attract a lot of businesses to come into the city, to expand the business footprint and so forth, we do need to offer some incentive in order to require that in a certain jobs and so forth, if we can be able to give TIF tax break to a certain individual businesses and so forth, we wanted to know on a yearly basis, we need to audit whether that business alone have met the agreement with the city. If they have not met with the agreement with the city in order to hire so many individuals in order to grow at a certain rate, we need to go ahead and evaluate whether we do need to go back to assess a little bit more or assess a little bit less based on the agreement that we have between that individual company and the city itself.
So explain to the viewers what a TIF is. It's a tax incentive program, right?
Correct.
And just explain it to them, because I don't think a lot of people really know what TIF is.
The TIF is just an agreement between the city and individual businesses for the required. For example, if the business is like said, okay, the city of Lowell, we expect if you give us a certain tax break for many years, and during that interim, we're going to hire a certain amount of employees in order to meet that requirement so that we can be able to help generate some of the local taxes and so forth. And once that met, then that agreement will go forward.
Okay. Do you have a question to Gordon?
Yeah, I do. I know there's a lot of buildings in Lowell that aren't habitable because of the status of the building. Do you have a plan as part of an infrastructure plan or what have you to make changes to those buildings to maybe rehabilitate some of those buildings, or put something in place where the people have to fix those up? And
definitely. Thank you, Gordon. I like calling Gordon. I don't care what anybody say. I like the name Gordon better than Gordy. Just like Flash Gordon. And somebody told me that I look like Ming, the Mongol from Flash Gordon. So
I think you look more like the King and the King and I.
Well, I did dress up that as once as
see that.
So
and you could pass for him very well.
I do. I really appreciate it for that. That's part of my infrastructure plan that we're looking at. The rehabilitation of these buildings, and it has been debilitating for many years. And we do need to get these building owners to come to a table and it's like say, you need to fix this up. Either you can be able to do this within a certain amount of period of time or not, then we need to go ahead and say, we need to ask the owner of this building either to sell it to someone who has the ability to renovate in order to make this building livable for either commercial aspect of it or private aspect of it. Because the longer we put it in there, the infrastructure, the things about the beautifying the city itself, it looks like very grumblings, and we cannot afford to have so many slumlords and many buildings that looks inhabitable.
Yeah, uninhabitable for sure. Yeah, is there anything else in your infrastructure future program that you would like to propose, that you would like to talk about now?
Well, there's always going to be going back to the smart taxations that involve the infrastructures. The infrastructure, not just the buildings, this also has to do with roads, it has to do with the sewage, the entire infrastructures that we're looking at, that I'm currently looking at. We need to improve it step by step, because the entire city itself, I can honestly tell you that the sewage system probably was built and laid down since the Industrial Revolutions way back in the 1900s. And the longer we allow this to be aged at a rapid rate, it's going to cost the city at approximately $150 million. That's just a guesstimate itself. And then we, as a citizen of Lowell, going to end up having to pay for it even more in terms of sewage fees and so forth. So we cannot be able to have to allow this infrastructure to crumble slowly at this rate at all.
Right. You also listed in your bio revitalization of small businesses and schools. What would you like to say about that?
Well, the revitalizations of businesses that we need to go ahead and encourage with the ARPA, which the American Rescue Plan Act that Congress has enacted into it. We do need to get that money to work with all the small businesses to say this is not a loan, but this is an actual aid, to see if they can be able to go ahead and use this money to renovate their businesses, to hire more workers based on the loss of the revenue that they had this past year. So this way would encourage them to have a much more robust plan and how that, so that they can be able to expand their businesses in order to help sustaining the consumption tax that the city may need it the most.
So, anybody have any questions or comments? Mike, you want to make any comment at this point? Maybe,
no, you guys are doing great.
Doing a great job. Yeah.
All I want to say is, if I was 18 and if I lived in the 7th District in Lowell, you would have my vote.
There you go, see?
Thank you, Ray.
I suppose it doesn't mean much now, but...
No. But, so Kim, schools have been a hot issue in Lowell, and also in Dracut. And most recently, one of the biggest issues was the siting of the high school. Where did you stand on that?
Oh, I oppose to the current siting. I thought that, you know, to spend that much money renovating the building is asinine at best. Because you never know, everyone who have ever experienced in renovating all homes that's about 50, 60 years old, you never know what you're going to get until you start gutting them, and then all of a sudden the estimated projected cost and so forth is going to be say, oh, by the way, we need to add this more, we need to replace this, we need to replace that. Instead of $345 million, we may see an extension of maybe 20, 30, 40 million dollars, something that we are not seeing it. So building a brand new high school everything is relatively new. It's easier to put it in. The entire building will receive everything new that's going to be lasting another 50 years, rather than the field house that was built in 1980s, already leaking like crazy, whereas the 1922 building has more stabilized in terms of the pipes and so forth. We do. That's where I stood.
Do you have a question for Cam relative to your experience last year with the schools and what have you?
Well, actually, I have a question about veterans.
Okay, go
Because as you know, I'm a member of the Greater Lowell Veterans Council Volunteer Corps, and I've heard tidbits here and there that veterans in Lowell, at least veteran monuments, have been kind of put aside. I know that there was one instance where there was, I believe, construction work done somewhere in Lowell, and I guess construction materials were placed at the site of a veterans memorial, and the memorial was not moved while the construction was going on. I've heard that a lot of the American flags along the streetlights in Lowell are old and battered and need to be changed. How do you feel about veterans in Lowell? What's your stance on the veteran situation?
I think it was sad when I first heard about the Calary Park. All the construction materials was laid everywhere, was never clean. I was contacted by John McDonnell in regarding to that. I was absolutely livid. My respect to the veterans and current uniformed men and women out there that defends American freedom shall not be desecrated in any way, any manner at all. My understanding is that I don't remember the rank of our veteran Calary, which was the first Vietnam active duty personnel to be killed during that time. So this is why we honored the park after Calary on that one. I support the veterans 100%, 110%, because my love for the military, which unfortunately I could not be able to go active duty after Norwich University in '91 because of my peripheral eardrum on the left. And had I had the opportunity to serve, I'm probably still in there right now. Of every countries in the world, the superpower in the world that has the strongest, mightiest military has always honored the people who served in defending the freedom, not just their country, but to humanity.
Right. And you have first-hand knowledge about that, being involved in Cambodia and what have you in the early 70s.
Correct.
John, if you didn't mind,
Sure.
I wanted to ask about the schools as well, like
Sure,
you mentioned.
go ahead.
So I know that in Dracut High over the past few years, I've experienced some forms of CRT, or at least tidbits of it here and then. How do you feel about CRT? Do you want to see that come in Lowell? If someone suggested it, what would be your opinion? How do you feel about CRT?
I strongly 120% oppose to the ideology of critical race theory itself, or CRT. First-hand knowledge. I lived through the Khmer regime between 1975 to 1978. All they did was bombarding of dividing parents against kids, kids against their grandparents, any other foreigner that is not of Cambodian. They even killed a Chinese descendant. They would kill anyone who have a different color of their skin and so forth. It's just the hatred, that ideology, which has happened from my understanding and start reading regarding to it, is taking a page or maybe several pages out of the Communist Manifesto. And we cannot be able to have that in the United States.
No. Very well said.
Amen.
And we're going on that, I'm going to say to you, we want to thank you for coming in tonight and taking the time to come over here and pass the border to Dracut. You didn't have any problem coming across the border, did you?
No, I did not.
Your visa was okay. Okay,
Yes.
but I want you now to look into that camera and tell the folks, or ask the folks in Dracut who might have relatives or friends in Lowell to get them out to vote for you.
Well,
Right into that camera right there.
well, thank you, Rick, John, and Gordon, for having me, and especially at Dracut TV Access here. It's been my honor to be here to advocate for my candidacies in the city of Lowell for the District 7 for the City Council. I know that Bob McGuire Jr., who lives here in Dracut, including John McDonald, Allison and Brian Jeunesse, who all of them have friends in the city of Lowell. I would kindly ask them to propagate and advance my candidacy for the City Council, and I will truly humble to receive every single votes in the preliminary on September 21.
So folks, that wraps up our interview with Cam at this point. I'm going to ask Rich to use that Pop Warner
Yes.
announcement, and if Nate can throw it up on the screen, and we're going to switch out some people now. Thanks again for coming in tonight, Cam.
Thank
we'll
you,
see
Cam.
you real soon
Thank
on
you.
City Life. Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
All
me.
right, so
All right, so
Nate, throw
we
it
have a
up.
little advertisement here for Pop Warner. Let's give it a read. Please join us for a day of fun to support the football players and cheerleaders of Dracut Pop Warner. We will have one shotgun start this year. The registration will be open at 7 a.m. with the shotgun start at 7:30 a.m. Dinner will be served as players begin to return from the course, and raffle items will be available. The cost per golfer is $150, with a team costing $600. If you do not like golf but still wish to support our program, you can sponsor a hole for $100, which will get you a sign at a tee box. Or you can make any donation you wish. Dracut Pop Warner is a 501c3 charity nonprofit organization, and all donations are tax deductible. You can register your team to sponsor a hole or dinner online by going to 2021 Dracut Pop Warner Golf Tournament, perfectgolfevent.com. You can also make checks payable to Dracut Pop Warner and mail them to John Stossel, care of Dracut Pop Warner at 64 Wagon Wheel Road, Dracut, MA 01826. Thank you. Now, next on the agenda, we're going to discuss the elephant, more like the Titanic in the room, the school committee meeting last night and the discussion of the mask mandates. So let's take a look at the protests that happened outside of Town Hall, followed by a clip that shows what happened when the concerned parents went into the meeting. If we could roll clip 1 and 2, please. Nice to meet you, my name. No mask mandate! Woo! No more masks! Woo! Awesome. Do you have anything you want to say to the people of the town?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, go.
We don't like masks and we don't want masks.
All right, well, that sounds pretty good. Thank you guys so much. When I say I want, you say freedom. I want freedom. I want freedom.
The speaker thing. We started the meeting with, we're going to treat each other being polite. If you're going to yell at speakers, you're not going to stay in a public meeting. Are we clear?
No, we're not clear.
Okay.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut, but I'm not clear.
But he's reading misguided information there. He's not.
This isn't. That's not how meetings work. That's not how public meetings work. The community input. You speak to the committee. We said this at the beginning. It's not how it works. If there's another outburst, we'll clear the room. We'll just do the meeting, and people can watch at home. That's how it's going to go.
So
Wow.
we're back. That was an interest. That was just a little tidbit of what went on last night. So I want to introduce you to our guests who are here tonight, and I want to give Mike a little bit of time to talk about his candidacy. But Mike Dillon Jr. is a candidate for re-election to the Lowell school committee. I've sat with Mike a number of times over at City Life. He's a very, very affable young man. He comes across very intelligent. He really knows what he's talking about when he gets there, and I think that really irritates people in Lowell. He does what he thinks is right. He's married to his lovely wife, Allison, and lived together in the Highlands with 3 daughters. He's a Lowell firefighter from 2010 to the present. Thank you for your service, young man.
Thank you very much.
He's been a school committee member since 2019. He's co-owner of Flippin' Out Gymnastics, which I didn't really know about that until we got this bio and you mentioned it tonight, which was right in here in this mill, right?
No, I believe that. Yeah, it's right behind us.
Right behind us.
Right
so
on the other side of the mill.
yeah, and he's a Lowell youth wrestling coach, right?
Yeah, we've done a lot less wrestling lately.
That's
with
awesome.
All the
COVID
stuff going on, but yeah. I've been
His
involved in
educational background is he's a graduate of Lowell High School from 2002, Bridgewater State in 2007, he with education in physical ed, correct?
Yep.
You're a teacher in Situate from 2007 to 2010. You were the head wrestling coach in Situate, which is an honor, and you were assistant wrestling coach at Lowell High School. His educational background has a lot to do with special education in adaptive PE teaching for the Situate school system, which is a very good school system from what I understand. Right?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, great school.
And he owns, along with his wife, Flippin' Out Gym, and he's also a Special Olympics gymnastics coach. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Well, as you said, when I was teaching phys ed down in Situate, I was a 0.7 teacher at the high school teaching phys ed. And so 0.3, 30% of my job was traveling around and being the adaptive phys ed teacher. So I have a little bit of experience myself, but my wife is very into the whole adaptive world. She loves working with the special ed population, and so we do a lot of stuff out of the gym. We have adaptive gymnastics classes that run 365 days a year, but we also host. We're a Special Olympics site, so we have a Special Olympics team that we enter into the Special Olympics for gymnastics, and so we do a lot of work in that area, and I try to go and coach and help out the best that I can.
So tell us a little bit about your candidacy in Lowell for re-election. You have had, 2 years on that?
2 years, yep.
And you're diving back in.
I am.
You're glutton for punishment. You want more punishment.
Yeah, well, I feel like we haven't gotten a chance to really get anything done.
Right.
And I still have a lot of plans, and it's gotten to the point where I would be nervous if I wasn't in the room sometimes.
Correct.
So I feel like my voice is important.
So what is one of your number one priorities coming out of COVID? We know that COVID is a major issue still, and there's a lot of money that's going to be spent in Lowell and in Dracut, surrounding communities from the federal government. So what is your plan that you'd like to see?
Well, first of all, we got to get back to educating the kids properly, because that's something that we haven't been doing for quite a while. And I have had plenty to say on exactly what was talked about at the meeting last night. I'm glad our meetings aren't the only ones that have been a little bit crazy around that whole idea. But we have transportation is a huge issue, which is probably the same anywhere. And COVID is bringing even more complications because the bus companies are having a difficult time hiring bus drivers back. Their staff is down, and it creates a lot of challenges for us, but there are a lot of different things through redistricting that we can do. And we're still holding to a consent decree in Lowell from 1988 that forced us to bus kids around the city, and we're doing a lot of unnecessary busing. And our neighborhoods are so diverse at this point that there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for us to build our community. Number one, I've heard so many stories of parents who, there's 9 children that all live on their street, and none of them go to the same school because we're busing kids all over the city, and we only have 2 districts in the whole city, and so you can choose any school on, in the half of the whole city. And also we have a couple of couple of citywide schools that you can apply to go to, and so we're busing kids everywhere, and we can definitely be more efficient in that area.
So Mike, I'm going to invite you back for another time soon before your election so we can talk strictly about your candidacy. But we brought you in here for a specific reason, and I'm going to set up the next piece.
I figured
okay?
it's about time.
Okay, so I'm sorry you had to wait so long.
No,
so,
I wasn't
but
sure
you
what
know,
was
in
coming.
good showmanship, you always leave your best subjects for last, so that you keep the people on, hanging on and end of the seat. So we had a big audience here. We still have a big audience, but we're going to set this up with Gordy with a piece that he has on masking, and then I'm going to introduce our second guest that's going to be here to discuss this lightning rod issue. Gordy?
Yeah, so for those of you that were at the school committee meeting last night or watching it from home like I was, it got pretty intense, and a lot of people were outside picketing and talking and community input. So there was a lot of back and forth about the science and masking. So I wanted to give you a scientist to explain how masks work, if they do work, and how the whole coronavirus works. So I'm going to just cue this up.
Here we go. No volume.
We're not getting the sound. I don't know why.
Primary mode of transmission
do
of
this.
SARS coronavirus 2 is through aerosols. So there's three sizes of water droplets that can come out of your lungs. Large water droplets, so those are droplets that are over 60 microns. They have this trajectory under gravity, right, where they quickly fall to the ground. Then there's small water droplets. These are between 10 and 60 microns in diameter. And then there's what we call droplet nuclei, which are smaller than 10 microns. So when we talk about aerosols, we're talking about these droplet nuclei and small water droplets. If you want to visualize it, when you go out in the cold air in the middle of the winter and, you talk about I can see my breath, that's the aerosols that you're breathing in. That's the aerosol condensing in the air. You see a big plume, and it doesn't just drop to the ground. I wear glasses, so when we breathe on, the lenses and fog them up. The moisture we're getting on there, that's the aerosol. Air is always going to travel, the easiest way out. So most of the air, the aerosol leaks out, going up above our nose. The other leak points are right at the cheeks here. What people say is, okay, there's leak points, but if I have a properly fitting mask, surely, what you said can't be true, right? So let me see if I can show you this. We've been told to use up to 3 masks. So I've got one, and I actually don't know if I'm going to be able to get all these on, because one of the things that's interesting, actually, my right ear pinna now is permanently deformed a little bit. It sticks out from my head more than the other one because of all the mask wearing. But so let me put on, here's 2 masks. Here's 3. I'll put on the 4th one. I don't know if we'll get the 5th one on. Okay. We're going to 5 masks. They're 3-ply surgical masks, so 15 layers. I'm going to seal it around the mouth. If this is true, the aerosols that come through, then this should fog up. We'll see. Can you see how foggy? Yep. Now watch this. I've made a cross. Can you see my eyes through that cross? Yep. So there's so much moisture there that you can see. Look at that cross pattern. There's so much moisture there. So I'm not going to say any more, right? All I'm saying, I'm just pointing with the science. So this is crazy.
That is amazing. Yeah. So our next guest is Sarah Powling. Sarah Powling is a Dracut parent who has organized with several other parents a new Facebook page an organization called Dracut Parents for Freedom. Sarah is a lifelong resident of Dracut. She's the mother of 2 elementary-age boys and the wife of a first responder. She earned her master's degree in social work from Boston University and has 10 years of experience working professionally with children. She has also spent the last 10 years advocating for her own children, and most recently she is the co-founder of this group that we talked about. But Sarah also finds time to write a blog called Spazzes, I think it says, yep. Spills and Spiked Salsas. And you can find that on that particular Spazzes, Spills and Spiked Salsas.com. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're happy to have you, Sarah. And you, along with Mike, we're gonna hopefully will be a lively discussion about what happened last night and where we stand on masks. Why did you want to start this particular group, and what's the emotion in background for it?
I mean, I think as you could see last night, the majority of people are sick of masking their children. We haven't masked them all summer. We don't mask them. The only time they've been masked recently is school, back in June, when they had to send everyone home early because it was so hot and they still needed to wear masks. You saw the video. It's ridiculous. It needs to be the parents' choice. That was the point of
So what happened last night at the school committee
we
meeting?
had a great turnout for a meeting that was very shortly scheduled. There was not a lot of notice, and we were able to gather a couple dozen people picketing, holding signs, protesting. My nephew was there. He's a Dracut High School student. He was counting all of the negative responses that we got in the form of the middle finger, and there were only 3.
People were showing their IQ.
Exactly.
Basically.
But there were only 3. Pretty much every other car that drove by was beeping, waving, cheering. People were joining us as they came, and we really felt supported from the community and in our beliefs.
So, Mike, we put up a very extensive video of you from your particular YouTube page, which I found very interesting, and we put it up on our webpage, on our Facebook page, to get it out to people. Tell us about what your work is involving in Lowell, about how you feel about this.
Well, if you saw the video, I think you probably understand that I don't think we should be masking our kids anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's too much. This is like the next. I feel like I could have predicted it right after the Only When It's Safe campaign, came through.
Right.
That I knew it was going to either go back to maintenance or to something. And once the summer came around, I felt pretty good about it. I didn't think we'd even be talking about it, to be honest with you. And now the Delta variant stuff in the news comes up. I don't see anything different. I've asked our school to, anytime we present COVID information, for the city to also include deaths, because we keep going just based off cases, and especially our kids are taking the brunt of the damage here, really, and they're the ones least affected by it. And we've been doing it for way too long. And so I got voted down 6-1 the other night. So we're going to follow exactly DESI's suggestions and guidance from the Board of Health. But just like the last time we were masked last year, I've been arguing against it for probably a year. And the same sort of thing kind of happened as soon as school was about to start. The people that worry the most about the virus started getting in people's ear, and it's the only mitigation in the city is masking in city buildings, and that includes school buildings. But what are we doing? If school buildings are the only buildings really that people are masking in, I challenged the city and the school committee or the superintendent to tell us what the repercussions are, because I think that's one of the best talking points, and the thing that you really need to start to dig into, because when you start talking about what repercussions might be, I think that proves how crazy it is. Because
repercussions in terms of what happens if I don't wear a mask?
Yes. Yeah. What is going to happen?
Right.
And nobody really, I still haven't gotten an answer from the city or from anyone in the school department, including the superintendent, on what actually we're going to do to somebody if they flat out just say no.
Right.
And so I'm going to test that, because I'm not wearing a mask at school committee meetings, and I don't know, they're telling me that I have to, so I don't have any.
If they remove you from the meeting, what are you going to do? Or if they attempt to remove you from the meeting?
I will attempt to not be removed from the meeting. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
That's exactly why I'm. I think that type of thought and that type of, not confrontation, but really making it clear that this is what it's going to come down to. Like, I mean, what am I going to be physically removed?
Right.
I mean, I'm here. I would like to participate in the meeting, and it's all for show. I feel like I'm lying to the voters if I show up to City Hall and walk up the hallway, there's nobody in the building, and I walk into a room with 10 people and I sit down and then I take off my mask.
I know.
I mean, what's the difference between that and if I had just walked up the stairs without a mask on in the first place? I don't really see one. And
So Sarah, you can go to a baseball game.
Yep.
You can go to a hockey game.
Yep.
And you can go in a building, a concert without a mask.
You can go to restaurants in town.
Right, and not have a mask.
Yep.
Right. And now they're telling you that in school it's more dangerous to not wear a mask.
It's more dangerous to sit with the same 20 kids every day in your classroom than to go out everywhere else in your town. It makes absolutely no sense.
Now, what was your view last night of what the school committee did? And what was some of the parents' thoughts as you walked out of that building?
We were so disappointed because there was so much support on our side in favor of what we were saying. We presented science, we presented emotional stories, we presented every aspect of it. And anyone who went into the school committee meeting, I feel like, with an open mind, would have heard all of us, would have seen the amount of people overflowing out into the hall in support of us, and would have actually taken the time to sit and think for a second and be like, wait a minute, well, hold on, there's a big push for this. We should really consider this. And unfortunately, the only person on the school committee that did that was Rebecca Duda. Rebecca, we thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Good for her.
Right? Just like you. She reminded us of you. You're also our hero. We wish you were in our town. But
well, in defense of the school committee, you didn't present the right type of science.
Correct.
They only take one type of science.
Exactly.
That was the wrong kind of
Exactly.
science.
It's only their scientist that matters. Exactly.
Right. So I equate the science when somebody throws in my face, oh, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. I say, well, isn't science changing all the time? And isn't it if you put 12 lawyers in a room, you're going to get 14 different arguments. And the same way with science, you put 12 scientists in a room and ask them a scientific question, and they're going to give you 16 different opinions, right, Gordy?
Right.
Aren't they?
And so the thing is do the masks work or do they not work?
Right.
Because if they do work and your child is wearing one, then what do you have to? You have nothing to worry about, right?
Right.
If they're wearing a mask and it protects 100%,
so
then why do you care if you wear one or not?
Right.
Then their response is, well, it protects other people. When you wear one, it doesn't protect you; it protects other people.
Because
so then why in the hell are you wearing a mask? You put an N95 on and be done with it.
Well, in that case, let's all carry guns then. You know, if I carry a gun and you get robbed, I'm protecting you.
Yeah.
So you better carry a gun to keep me safe, because if I get robbed and I don't have a gun,
Right.
you have to be there to save me, right?
But Mike, there's a couple of things. What do you say to a person when they say trust the science? And have you known anybody that's had a debilitating or a life-threatening disease that takes the first opinion of the doctor that says you're going to die in 6 weeks and we can't do anything about it? Are you going to sit still and listen to that science, or are you going to go to another doctor?
Yeah, I mean, there have to be second opinions in health, right? I mean, health science at all. I think the thing that we really need to get past, or people that need to get past, is the idea that they're not going to get sick or they're not going to get the virus, that everyone is getting it. You're going to get it.
Exactly.
If you haven't had it already, and if you're vaccinated, then or if you have natural immunity, which is another thing that we have to remember, you're not going to get it as bad, and you're going to beat it. People beat it all the time.
Right.
And because this we can't get sick idea is what's keeping us in this state where we're at right now.
And remember, masks work so well when we're back in, if you remember last year, 2020, in March, where we couldn't leave our houses.
Yeah.
We could go to the grocery store and come home, and that was it. And we all had to wear masks, and we were all inside of our house for a month, like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And the virus still spread, and people were still getting sick, people were still dying, and we weren't even out of the house.
Right. And
how would that happen?
Right. And have you
know
heard
what I mean? So you get it from contact, you get it from your hands, you get touching your mouth. That's how you get it. You
Is there
need
any
to wash
statistical
your hands.
data
That's
that shows that people, and I've asked this question and nobody comes up with it, how many people that have worn masks, that wear masks, got COVID? Because they're out there.
Millions.
There's millions, of course. Because you're wearing the same mask.
So that was a
same
trick
cloth
question or
mask.
something.
And you're taking it off, putting it on, and you're touching your face. That's the worst thing you can do.
You're hanging it on your steering wheel in your car. facing another mask that you use 25 times, and it's 40 masks there. I see people opening up their doors. There's 40 masks on there.
And the other thing is that what they don't talk about is the negative effects from wearing a mask. And I know firsthand because my wife works at the hospital, and she goes to work every day. She has to wear a mask 8 hours a day. She comes home and she blows her nose, blood everywhere.
Remember,
she had today off, and she blew her nose, no blood. Right. Isn't that funny? She wore a mask, and every time she wears a mask, she gets a bloody nose. When she doesn't get one.
Remember them saying 2 weeks to kill the curve, right? To slow the curve. 2 weeks. It's been 20 months. Now, listen, I want to say this to you right now, folks. I'm not anti-mask. I'm not anti-vax. I am pro-choice. That's what I am. I'm pro-choice.
Amen.
I'm pro you choose what you do to your body. I have been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated for a number of reasons, but I am vaccinated, and more than likely I'm going to get the third dose that the president is advocating for now, not because he's advocating for it, but because I have other people in my background that are telling me to get it. But, I mean, where does it end? Where does it end when they start chipping away at your rights? Your civil rights in the United States of America.
Exactly. It doesn't end. That's another reason we're out there for freedom, for parents' freedom of choice, because, I mean, first it's the mask, then what's coming next? Regardless of whether the mask works or not, it doesn't matter. We have rights. We have rights as people. We have rights as parents. We have rights to make choices. I don't understand why schools are now the only place that is taking away those rights after everything.
And the funny thing is, this new universal mask order that they ordered at Dracut High School, they said that you wear it when you're indoors, but it's not going to apply to sports or outdoors. So what are we doing when you have a basketball game indoors or a wrestling match indoors?
We're not there yet.
Huh?
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there.
All I know right now is we're not requiring outdoor masking, which is, thank goodness. I mean, but it's, you know, I've been a big advocate. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, I've been a coach, and phys ed is a big part of my background. I've been advocating for getting everybody in shape, getting everybody healthy, because the one thing that we do know is that people who are not in as good of a physical shape, or who have comorbidities related to not being in good physical condition, do much worse with this virus. And so what have we done for the last 2 years other than tell the whole population, not just the kids, that stay home and do things over the computer and don't even leave your home for the day? Where is our physical health gone? We were already the most obese first world country anyway in the world by far, with the highest rates of diabetes, and you know, those are two of the big factors. So what are we doing here? We're in much worse physical shape than we were prior.
It all goes back to the control, the government control of everything you do. Rich, you had a comment?
Yeah, first of all, what a great segue to get me to speak physical health. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But, you know, as somebody who goes to the Dracut High School, I think I could offer some nice insight on what it was like last year. Mm-hmm. So remote learning, absolute HELL, 2 hockey sticks, you know, forget it. That was ridiculous. Nobody learned anything. There were the technical problems that we faced. I know personally I had to go back to the school 3 times to get a new laptop because the one they gave me kept breaking down, so I missed 3 days of school because of that. When we went back to the school and we were wearing masks, I'm telling you, the atmosphere was so depressing. Whenever, you know how teenage girls are, they'll stop in the hallway to talk to their girlfriends about this boy or, you know, what they're doing after school. Whenever they try to do that, teachers go, disperse, 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 get away from each other, even with the masks on. The minute they get out of the school, everyone takes off the mask. The minute we go on mask breaks, which is walking laps around the high school, everyone takes off their masks, looks at each other, speaks to each other. So, you know, it's ridiculous. The one argument, when we were holding signs yesterday, because I was there as well, you know, John and I, you and I were there. I made some signs. One of them that I made says, what happened to my body, my choice?
Right.
And I think I told you about this. I debated this with a few people, and they go, oh, well, you know, using the abortion argument, my body, my choice, that's completely different, because when it comes to masks, that affects other people. Abortion doesn't affect anybody.
Can you imagine the moronic comment of somebody making that? It doesn't affect anybody. A baby's not anything.
I can't make this up. I really can't make this up.
Well,
so, Rich, we have another. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that whole thought process is unhealthy.
It's delusional. You're delusional.
I mentioned this at the meeting the other night as well. Everybody else has to comply to protect my health. That is psychologically not well. I mean, I don't know how we got to that point.
Right. I'm not responsible for you, and you're not responsible for me.
Sure. And now, I mean, there are certain, if you like maliciously give someone a disease, that is going to kill them, right? I mean, but beyond there, how can we, are we going to start suing people for giving you a cough or giving you a cold during the winter? Or
exactly.
We live together.
We have another clip, that third clip about after the meeting.
Yes. So as you can see from the second clip, the meeting got pretty intense inside. If you thought that was bad, the second clip there with Joe Wilkie, wait until you see the third clip, which is right as the meeting ended and that gavel hit the table. Let's see what the reaction was. Clip number 3, please.
Thank you for being great.
Thank you. The new face covering policy passed with Board 1. So is the Nuremberg trials. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're not
Dr.
going to like what's
Duda.
coming.
Right on. You're the school committee.
Excuse me, we're not going to like what's coming for us? Was that what you just said? Yes, the Nuremberg trials. Yeah, you're going to be voted out. You're going to be voted out.
My child.
Okay.
Not your child.
Okay.
You can put a mask on your child. You can put 5 masks on your child.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear the truth, huh? You don't want to hear the truth, Joseph?
Thank you, Dr. Duda. Will you guys be going to get your masks, or did you forget your masks? Voting for our children, all of you speaking in favor of masks? None of you wearing them?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, really? None of you that voted for my child to have to suffocate again for a second year wearing a mask.
Again.
Hypocrites!
You want to make things hard?
Hypocrites! Hypocrites!
You say you heard you trust him? How many Mr. Hold them out! How many people died?
Hold them out! Hold them out! Hold them out! Hold them out! Hold them out!
Vote them out! Hypocrites! Vote them out!
Sir, could you please state your name?
Antonio Andrade, 124 Tennis Park.
All right, we are here at the school committee meeting where they decided to...
Go ahead.
Technically,
we don't have a lot of time left.
So I just wanted to clarify something real quick. So I am by no means, nor is anybody on this panel, I presume, anti-school committee.
Right.
While I don't agree with the decision of the school committee whatsoever, I don't think that we should be, because somebody threatened, I believe, Joe Wilkie. That was completely inappropriate. I know after the meeting, people were getting up in their faces, the face of Allison Volpe, Renee Young, berating them, verbally abusing them. That's completely wrong, and we can't have that. So I'm sorry to the school committee members for that. But everything else, I think, went wonderfully.
I have a very slight view differently than Richard there, because I believe that peaceful protesting and telling somebody how you feel after a meeting is okay, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's not vulgar, as long as it doesn't get physical. It should never be physical. So, sometimes they don't get it. Sometimes they just don't get it. And, to sit there and wave somebody off because they don't like the camera going in their face or something like that,
That's absurd.
That was something that happened to me last night, that one of the members of the school committee waved me off because I was videotaping the confrontation between him and another person, and maybe I was trying to protect that person, I'm trying to protect maybe the school committee person from being attacked physically, right? I could use that in court or whatever.
Footage is footage.
But one thing that was very interesting about that whole thing, and you brought it up about the mask-less school committee, and they weren't really social distance. They claim they are, but they're not social distance to the extent that they should be.
They don't social distance on Facebook either.
Did you notice that the room was social distance?
No.
Inside the room, those chairs were they took out probably 2/3 of the chairs. And most of the people that were there were standing in the hallway, Mike.
All huddled together.
All huddled together in a small thing. That really was a safety issue for the citizenry of Dracut.
Well, not to mention, they're following the CDC. Well, the CDC recommends everyone wear a mask indoors. Doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. Why was no one wearing a mask? If they're so concerned about following the CDC, you know?
Well, we were told that if you get vaxxed, you don't need the mask. Right?
Not in town hall
Another
west.
lie.
But then, right, exactly.
Another lie.
I have
Go ahead.
I have an objection to that.
Go ahead.
I'm unvaccinated.
Right.
I chose not to get it. I'm a firefighter. I've been working straight through the pandemic. I didn't take any days off, didn't ask for anything extra, didn't get anything extra, just kept going to work. And me, like a lot of other people, kept us going through this pandemic when other people were not doing anything. And now I somehow am the unhealthy one, and I am the contagion. And these people that now have the vaccination that are screaming at the unvaccinated, how does that work? Mm-hmm. Where they've been sitting in their house for 2 years while I've been out and seeing it and dealing with it. And now I am the one that has to.
So now you've got a scarlet letter on you. And what happened to the tolerance
It's
of
unbelievable.
no tolerating somebody's disagreement, whether it's the color of their skin or how they speak? Or what about your health? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's totally up to you.
Sure.
Why is that now you're able to yell at somebody and scream at somebody like that? We had somebody online that came in and said, "Oh my God, ridiculous! Homeschool your kids if you don't like it." Right? Well, why don't we
Homeschool
reverse
your
that?
kids.
We can
Right?
say that.
Like, we're
We
not
can
the
reverse
ones that are afraid of
and
anything.
Jackie, you're welcome to come on the show anytime you want and talk about why you want to have
If
the
you want-
masks.
and
We'll talk.
if masks work, mask your kid, and you
Right.
shouldn't have to be concerned. right?
Rob Shepard here made a good point.
Yep.
Sick until proven healthy.
Right, exactly.
Sick until proven
Exactly. So, I mean, Derek makes a point too. Your immune system is stronger than the rest of the country, obviously, or the rest of the
I already had it.
people.
I know I had it. I had it months ago.
So,
couple
you
months
didn't
ago.
even know you had it.
My wife got tested for antibodies last week, and she has just as good antibodies as anybody
And
with
she
a vaccine.
wasn't sick. Oh, was she
Oh,
sick?
we all got it. We got
Yeah.
sick. My kids had barely even noticed that they had it.
Yeah.
It hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
I was sick.
Yeah.
But it's over.
Yep.
And maybe I'll get it again.
Well,
I don't know.
when you
I'm
take
going to
a
beat
flu
it
shot,
again.
you're taking a flu shot's not 100% either.
No.
And you could get the flu. I hate to say this because we just need more time here. This
2
is
hours.
ridiculous.
Move to 2 hours
We're
now.
already out of time, and I didn't even get into any national stuff. Nothing with Afghanistan. What's going on over there? We're going to have
Too much going on.
a podcast. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I wish we could extend it.
Don't
further,
give me
but we're not.
ideas.
Folks. Please, I want to thank our guests tonight, Mike Dillon. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
we
having me.
definitely will
Thank
have you
you,
again.
yes.
And thank you again, Sarah. You're welcome anytime
Thank
to
you
come
very
on
much.
and tell us in the future what you're going to do to organize to get more awareness of what's going on. Gordy, another show just flew right by.
Right by. As always, folks, we thank you guys for watching, both on Facebook and on Channel 8 and here in Dracut. If you also want to catch old episodes, go to dracuttv.org or check out our YouTube channel, What's Happening Dracut. You can catch all our old episodes there if you want to keep up with our show. And when it's Wednesday and it's 6:30, it's What's Happening Dracut. Good night, Dracut.
Good night, all. Thank you, guys.